So, I've got this secret. Yeah, I haven't really told anyone. I'm sure you probably do too, right? Or maybe not. We don't really know each other that well, haha. But hey, let me just start from the beginning. Growing up, when I was a kid, I always had this weird hesitation about going down to the basement in my childhood home. It wasn't anything I could really put my finger on. No ghosts or creepy stuff. I mean, I had no real reason to be scared. My dad actually did a really nice job finishing it. Before I get too far into my story, I should probably just tell you what it looked like. Okay, so the basement has 4 rooms. When you first head downstairs, you're pretty much greeted by this light beige carpet that covers almost everything, like 3 out of the 4 rooms. The walls are painted this clean white on top, and then there's a chair rail, and below that, it's a darker beige paneling. The ceiling is just your standard drop panel kind, you know, the kind you see in most basements, with those regular recessed lights giving it a nice glow. So, in this first room, you'd find a striped sofa, and to its left, there's this dark, woven end table. There was a TV in there, a coffee table, pretty much a regular living room setup. The rest of the basement was cool too. There was a billiard room, then a long hall that led you to another room with a couch and chairs. That one had a sliding glass door that opened right out onto a patio, which was pretty sweet for a basement. And then there's the last room. And this is where my secret really started. It was a pretty big unfinished section, just raw cement floors, where we kept the washer and dryer. And the thing is, this room extended way out under the basement stairs, making it kind of a dark, hidden spot. It's right there that my secret began to brew. The first letter arrived when I was 10 years old, nestled within a faded, unmarked envelope, smelling faintly of salt and something unidentifiable, like crushed herbs and damp earth. I came across it while helping out with the laundry for my mom. It was always a race to drop the basket and head back up upstairs. But this time when I proceeded to rush out of the workroom, a name I believed coined by my father, I noticed it tucked just be the stairs. It was simply with my first name, Alex, an elegant looping script that seemed too refined for modern times. I picked it up racing to the couch outside of the workroom in the basement. The sender, it claimed, was named Ilara, and her address was simply The Last Shore, Ethelgard. Ethelgard. That night I scoured my geography books from Mr. Henderson's class. No record, no whisper of such an island. It wasn't in any ocean. Yet periodically I come to find these letters from Ilara, sporadic at first, then with increasing regularity. She was of the same age as me, and her descriptions of Ethelgard where she lives was breathtaking and utterly fantastical for my young mind. She wrote of forests that illuminated at night by the many glowbugs with a soft internal light, guiding travelers through perpetual twilight. Of mountains with cities built within, of a sunken city just off the coast, its crystalline spires visible through the impossibly clear waters, a place she claimed was home to what they called the Arivistas. The island was closed off from much of the outside world. Ilara herself was a mystery. She spoke of her people as the keepers of the shifting veils, suggesting some role my 10-year-old brain could not understand. She seemed to know an uncanny amount about my life, subtly referencing events I'd never written to her about, details that chilled me, even as they fascinated. She asked poignant questions about the mundane aspects of my world, the rush of traffic, the taste of ice cream, the concept of a television, always with a detached curiosity, as if these were alien concepts. My replies were full of questions, desperate to unravel the enigma of Ethelgard and its sole correspondent. How did the letters reach me? How did she know so much? Was it a joke? A long con? But her responses only deepened the mystery. She never directly answered the logistical questions. Instead, she'd shift the topic, offering another poetic description of Ethelgard's unique flora or a philosophical musing on time and existence. The more she described her island, the more impossible it sounded, yet the more real it felt in my imagination. It wasn't just a place, it was a state of being, a pocket of unspoiled wonder existing outside the known world. Sometimes a letter would arrive bearing a tiny, dried flower I'd never seen, or a shard of what looked like iridescent seashell, shimmering with colors that didn't quite belong to our spectrum. These tangible tokens felt like pieces of a world I had yet to understand, adding layers to the mystery of my correspondence with Ilara. With each letter, my connection to Ilara deepened, weaving a spell of wonder that transcended the walls of my childhood home. I started to believe Ethelgard wasn't a physical island that simply hadn't been discovered, but perhaps an island that existed in a different dimension, or a place accessible only through a forgotten dream. Ilara was real, and Ethelgard, in some profound sense, was too. My pen pal from the island that doesn't exist became my friend, my escape. Our correspondence was a secret world, a bridge between two realities. And though I've never found Ethelgard on any map, every time a new, strange-smelling envelope found its way to my basement, I knew a piece of it, and a piece of Ilara had found its way to me.
Dear Ilara, thank you for your letter. I'm in the 5th grade. Are you in 5th grade too? Had hockey practice. It was long, but my dad says it will help me. After hockey practice, I felt tired but excited. My sisters always share stories about their day at school over dinner. We laugh a lot, and sometimes I get jealous of their adventures. They both play different sports too. One plays soccer and the other is in gymnastics. I wish I could be as good as them. Maybe one day I will be. I started thinking about all the questions I have for you. Do you play sports? Have you ever heard of my town, Penfield, New York? I asked my teacher today about Ethelgard, and he told me there is no such place. Is it far from where I live? What do your parents do for work? Do you have brothers or sisters? I have 2 older sisters. I wish I had a brother. I will wait for your letter. Alex.
My dearest Alex, your letter arrived with the most interesting smells, like cold air and something you call hockey. That sounds like a super fast game. 5th grade? Oh my goodness, that's so neat. We don't really have grades here because we all learn from each other all the time. But I bet you're really good at it. Do I play sports? Not like hockey. We have things like races through the glowing forests, and sometimes we climb the singing mountains just for fun to hear their echoes. And diving deep down to see the Crystal City is like a giant game of hide and seek. So it's more like playing with our island than playing a game, you know? Penfield, New York? I don't think Ethelgard has that on any of our star maps. Your teacher is right. You won't find Ethelgard on your maps. It's like really far, but also not far at all. It's like if you close your eyes and imagine the most beautiful place. Sometimes it feels like you're already there, even if it's super far away. My parents? Well, they're like all the grown-ups here. They're keepers of the shifting veils. That means they help make sure our light geysers glow really bright, and they listen to the songs the mountains sing, and they learn from the silent beings who live in the Crystal City underwater. It's like helping the island stay sparkly and happy, not like going to an office. And brothers and sisters? Oh, I have so many. Everyone here is like family. We all share our light and help each other. It's like we're all a giant group of best friends always. I bet your 2 older sisters are super fun. Dinner sounds yummy. I hope you had something good. I'll be watching for your next letter, sailing across the not-on-the-map oceans to me, with the biggest, warmest Ethelgard glow, Ilara.
Dear Ilara, your letters are seriously the best. Hockey does have a funny smell, huh? And it's super fast, like when I'm flying down the ice with the puck. It's crazy how you don't have grades. So you just learn whatever you want, whenever you want. That sounds amazing. Like if I wanted to spend all day learning about dinosaurs, I could just do that. And your sports sound even cooler than mine. Climbing singing mountains, diving to a crystal city. That's like something out of a dream. You said you have lots of brothers and sisters, like everyone is family. That's really different from here. My sisters Sarah and Emily are way older than me, so they mostly just hang out with their friends or tell me to get out of their room. Sometimes I wish I had a little brother to play with, or even just someone closer to my age. You said Ethelgard isn't on my maps, and it's really far, but also not far at all. That's the part that really makes my brain do a flip. My teacher, Mr. Henderson, he knows everything about maps and places, and he said there's no way. So how do the letters get here? Do they just float? And how do you know about my or that my mom called me for dinner? It's like you're watching me, but from super far away. Is there some sort of magic mail service? Or is it something else? And what about the keepers of the shifting veils? What are the veils? Are they like curtains? And what happens if they shift? Does Ethelgard just disappear sometimes? And these silent beings in the Crystal City, are they like fish? Or something totally different? I really hope you write back soon. It's so weird, but talking to you about Ethelgard feels more real than talking to anyone at school sometimes. Your friend, Alex.
My dearest Alex, your letter floated in with the scent of, well, it's hard to describe, like speedy cold air and a lot of excited questions. It makes me smile that you think our way of learning sounds amazing. It really is. If you wanted to learn about dinosaurs, you totally could, all day long. We just follow what sparks our inner light. How letters travel in the shifting veils. You asked how my letters get to you and how I know things. That's a very good question. It's not magic mail, not exactly. It's more about how the veils work. Imagine the air around us and around your world is like this super thin, shimmery curtain. Most of the time, the veils keep our two places separate, like two different rooms. But sometimes, they get a little thin in places, almost like a whisper, and that's when things can pass through, like my letters to you, or even just tiny bits of thought. The keepers of the shifting veils are grown-ups who are really good at feeling where these whispers are. They don't make them happen, but they know how to find the places where the veils are a little bit open. So when I write to you, they help my letter find one of those whisper-thin spots. And because the veils are so delicate, sometimes tiny pieces of what's happening on your side, like a little echo of your hockey game or your mom calling for dinner, can slip through too. It's not like I'm watching you through a window, more like I'm feeling a faint breeze from your world. The veils don't make Ethelgard disappear. They just shift. It's like when you move a blanket. The blanket is still there, just in a slightly different place. Ethelgard is always here, always shimmering. The silent beings in the Crystal City? Oh, they're not like fish at all. They're very old and very wise. They don't have voices like you and I do, but they communicate with light and patterns. They teach us about the very deep parts of our island and about the patterns of the stars. Imagine trying to talk to a really old, shiny rock that somehow knows everything. That's kind of what it's like. It sounds like your sisters are pretty different from you. That can be tricky, I guess. Here, because we're all so close and share so much, it's like having 100 best friends and family members all at once. Everyone learns from everyone else, and we celebrate each other's inner lights. I'm so glad my letters feel real to you, Alex. It's the same for me. Your world sounds so full of interesting things: hockey, teachers, dinners, and these grades you have. It's like I'm getting a little peek into a whole different way of living. I'll be waiting for your next letter, traveling through the whispers of the veils, with the warmest Ethelgard light, Ilara.
Even now, decades later, the scent of salt and damp earth can sometimes transport me back to that unfinished corner of my parents' basement. I'm 38 years old now, a professor of theoretical physics at a respectable university, and I still can't explain Ilara. Her letters eventually stopped abruptly when I was 18. The last one contained a single pressed glowbug wing, shimmering with an ethereal light that faded within hours of my finding it. No farewell, no explanation. Just silence. I spent much of my 20s trying to debunk it all. I cataloged every bizarre detail Ilara shared about Ethelgard, searching for patterns, for a hidden code, for anything that would reveal it as an elaborate prank. I delved into quantum mechanics, string theory, and esoteric philosophy, hoping to find a scientific explanation for a place existing not on the maps, but a fifth dimension that wrapped around in some unknown way. My colleagues found my early research interests quaint, to put it lightly. My parents, bless them, thought I was just an unusually imaginative kid who loved a good pen pal. They never saw the letters, never questioned my hurried trips to the basement laundry room. The irony, of course, is that my obsession with Ilara's impossible world led me directly to my current field. Her descriptions of shifting veils and places that were really far, but also not far at all, resonated eerily with emerging theories of parallel universes and hidden dimensions. I found myself drawn to the idea that our reality might just be one page in a much larger, multi-dimensional book. The last visit home. Then one morning after the worst week of my life, I found myself in front of my childhood home. A week earlier, I'd received the heartbreaking news. Both my parents had died in a traffic accident, the driver of a big rig having fallen asleep at the wheel. It left me hollow. Now, with the funeral and service arrangements behind me and both my sisters gone back to their lives out of state, it was up to me to box up the remnants of what had been my parents' lives. But of course, it was much more than that for me. It was the foundation of my world. When I finally got the nerve to let myself in, part of me still expected to be greeted by my mom, covered in flour in the midst of yet another baked good she'd been concocting, and my dad eager to greet me, golf on TV in the background. But as you may guess, there was nobody. Everything was left the way one would leave it, expecting to return. The work was difficult, and I'd be lying if I didn't say tears were involved. But after completing the upstairs and downstairs, the only thing left was the basement. Stepping down into the basement felt like entering a different house entirely, a distinct domain separated from the upstairs by more than just a flight of stairs. Upstairs, every creak of the floorboards, every worn piece of furniture held a sharp, painful memory of my parents, of a life now irrevocably altered. Here, in the familiar beige and white comfort of the finished rooms, it was different. This was my space, my childhood refuge, a sanctuary from the often overwhelming real world. The striped sofa, still bearing the faint indentations of countless hours spent reading and dreaming, the solid billiard table, its green felt inviting forgotten games, the long hall leading to the sliding glass door. They were all familiar landmarks of a childhood spent in a world that felt both entirely normal and, because of Ilara, secretly fantastical. The air was cool, carrying the faint, comforting scent of dust and old books, a tangible layer of the past. I started methodically, the academic in me asserting control over the emotional chaos. I tackled the main living area first, then the billiard room. Each box I filled a small, often agonizing victory, a painful step towards an uncertain future. I carefully packed away board games, old magazines, and framed photos of vacations long past. But as the afternoon wore on, a familiar, unsettling pull began to tug at me, a subtle magnetism drawing me towards the unfinished section. The laundry room. The spot under the stairs. It was more than just curiosity. It was an instinct, honed by years of anticipation and a lifetime of unanswered questions. I pushed aside the last of the boxes in the finished part of the basement, revealing the raw concrete floor of the utility area. Then I felt it something faint, almost imperceptible, a vibration in the very air itself, a resonance. The further I stepped into the unfinished space, the stronger it became, a silent beacon guiding me. The washer and dryer stood exactly as they always had, solid and unchanging in a world that had suddenly become terrifyingly fluid. And there, beneath the lowest step of the wooden staircase, was the dark, hidden spot, shrouded in shadow. I knelt, the mundane dust of the basement suddenly imbued with profound significance. The dust was thick, clearly undisturbed for years, yet something was undeniably different. A faint shimmer, like heat rising from asphalt on a summer day, subtly distorted the air just above the concrete, almost imperceptible unless you were looking for it, unless you knew what to feel for. And then I saw it. It wasn't a letter, nestled carefully in an unmarked envelope. It was a single tiny luminous orb, no larger than a marble, nestled directly in the dust. It pulsed with a soft internal light, a mesmerizing kaleidoscope of colors that swirled like captured starlight, reds bleeding into blues, greens into impossible purples. As I reached for it, the scent hit me, unmistakable, potent, and utterly intoxicating. Salt, freshly crushed herbs, and the sweet, almost dizzying aroma of those luminous forests Ilara had described in her letters, a fragrance that could only belong to Ethelgard. My fingers brushed against its surface, and a jolt, not of electricity, but of pure crystalline energy, shot up my arm, vibrating through my very being. The world around me blurred. The concrete walls of the basement seemed to stretch and ripple like water, and for a fleeting, impossible instant, I wasn't in Penfield anymore. I was standing on soft, glowing moss, the air thick with the murmur of unseen voices, and above me, trees pulsed with their own gentle illumination, their branches reaching towards a perpetually twilight sky. I felt a profound sense of boundless space, of a world unfolding in directions I couldn't comprehend, yet strangely welcoming. It lasted only a fraction of a second, but it was as vivid and real as the dust on my knees, a sudden, direct injection of another reality. When the sensation faded, I was back in the familiar, silent basement, the marble-sized orb warm in my hand, its light still present but less vivid, as if its energy had been partially expended in making that impossible connection. This wasn't a distant memory anymore. This was a tangible, undeniable piece of Ethelgard, delivered directly to my childhood home, to the very spot where our impossible correspondence had begun. And it had arrived at the precise moment I was feeling most adrift, most disconnected from the foundations of my life. A profound, almost miraculous intervention. Ilara hadn't just sent me a memento. She'd sent me a message. A beacon. A reminder that even when my own world felt shattered, even when the solid ground beneath me crumbled, there was another, hidden by veils, yet undeniably real, still reaching out across dimensions. The question wasn't just how she did it, or even what this orb was. The pressing, immediate questions now were why now, and what was I supposed to do with this impossible, glowing truth? The luminous orb, still warm in my palm, felt like a direct contradiction to the cold, stark reality of my parents' absence. The grief was a fresh wound, but this impossible gift from Ilara, was a salve, a promise that even in the deepest sorrow, there were wonders unseen, connections unbound by the laws of my world. The why now still echoed, but a new understanding began to dawn. Perhaps it wasn't just about her reaching out, but about her knowing when I needed to be reached. Perhaps the veils thinned not just randomly, but in resonance with profound human experiences, moments of extreme vulnerability or radical change. I clutched the orb, its gentle pulse a steady heartbeat against my skin. There was no practical application for it, no equation that could quantify its existence. Yet it was the most significant discovery of my life, far eclipsing any academic achievement. It was a tangible anchor to a belief that had sustained me through years of doubt and intellectual isolation. I never spoke of the orb, not to my sisters, not to my colleagues, not even to the few close friends who understood the complex intricacies of my work. It remained my secret, nestled in a velvet pouch within a locked drawer in my study, its faint internal light a constant silent comfort. I continued to teach, to publish, to immerse myself in the accepted frameworks of physics. The orb would ultimately be the last message I would ever receive, but it was a gesture more potent than words. It wasn't a question, but an affirmation. Ilara was out there, her world real, and the connection between us, forged in childhood innocence and now strengthened by adult grief, was resilient. Sometimes, when the burden of the world felt too heavy, when the silence of things echoed with too many ghosts, I would retrieve the orb. I'd hold it, feel its warmth, and let my mind wander to luminous forests and singing mountains, to silent beings in crystal cities beneath clear waters. I no longer sought to understand the mechanics of the veils, not with the desperate urgency of a lonely boy or a bewildered young academic. Instead, I simply believed the basement, once a place of hesitant fear and then secret wonder, became a cherished memory for me. And though no more letters ever found me, every now and then, when the air is still, I'd think to catch the faintest whisper of salt and damp earth, a scent carried on an unseen breeze from a place not on any map, from a friend who still, somehow, existed in my fifth dimension. My secret didn't end with a definitive answer or a grand reunion. But however ended instead, with a quiet, shimmering hope, a constant reminder that the universe holds more magic than we can ever measure, and that some connections transcend even the boundaries of reality itself.